Welcome to Football with Cheez. So in this video, I'm going to preview the Packers-Bears matchup this Sunday because the first time in probably a decade, this game actually means something. It's been a really rough stretch for the Bears against the Packers. The Bears have won 2, I think, of these games in the last 10 years, or 2 since 2015. And one of the wins was last year when the game didn't mean anything. Packers rested Jordan Love. They were already in the playoffs. So really one meaningful win in the last 10 years for the Bears. But the Bears are 9-3 this year. The Packers are 8-3-1. They're first and second in the division. The winner, depending on some other teams, could be the number 1 seed in the NFC after this weekend. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell for notifications so you never miss one of my videos. I'll mention a few more games at the end. This is a really big week. Mike, my buddy from the Lights Out podcast, every Tuesday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, he complained about last weekend. He said there were so many bad games, and he was right. But Thanksgiving had 3 games. They were all entertaining. But this week, you have a really good 4:25 matchup. Packers-Bears, you have a good Sunday night and a good Monday night. More on that in a second. Let's just go over some stats real quick. The Chicago Bears, they are 6th in offense. This is yards per game. And 2nd in rushing. That's very good. But they have faced some of the worst defenses in the NFL. This is the bottom 8 teams in total defense yards allowed. Starting with the worst. Cincinnati Bengals, Washington Commanders, New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys, Pittsburgh Steelers, Chicago Bears, Baltimore Ravens, and Philadelphia Eagles. That's the bottom 8. I was surprised about the Eagles. But their defense really hasn't been as good as a lot of people think. So the Chicago Bears have faced 7 of those 8 teams. They've faced 7 of the 8 worst defenses in the NFL of their 12 games. And the only one they haven't faced is themselves. They can't face them. So besides the Bears, they faced the 7 worst defenses in the NFL. No wonder they're 9-3. They're not facing very good teams. I was shocked at how bad the Eagles' defense was statistically when I looked it up right before this video. And if you look at the Bears' schedule, these are some of the quarterbacks they've faced. Geno Smith, J.J. McCarthy twice, Spencer Rattler, Tyler Huntley, they lost that game, Joe Flacco, Jackson Dart, Mason Rudolph. Those are just some of the quarterbacks they've faced this year. So it has been a really easy schedule. Total defense, they faced no one in the top 9. The only top 10 defense they have faced this year is Minnesota, who is 10th. And they don't have a quarterback who can play. And they split with Minnesota this year. They lost at home to week 1. They did beat Minnesota on the road, but only 19-17. Didn't beat them by much. Should have won by so much more. And if you watch my video I released yesterday, I mentioned the top 5 teams that have overachieved and underachieved just according to analytics. I looked at a lot of analytical stats, team stats, not individual. I'll link it in this box, so make sure you check that out. And I do mention the Bears in that video because they haven't faced a single defense in the top 9. They've faced the 7 worst defenses in the NFL of their 12 games if you take away the Bears. Now, the Bears are 2nd in rushing. Their offensive line is immensely improved. All 3 interior spots are new. And really the only weakness is left tackle. They've used 3 different players at that. They're using Ozzie Trapilo now, who is a surprise 2nd-round pick. Most people, including myself, had him more as a 4th rounder. We'll see how he handles the Packers pass rush. More on that in a second. But offensive line, coming in this year, had been an issue for quite a while. Much improved, especially run blocking. It's a really good run blocking offensive line. Now, they have not faced a good defense, like we said, or a pass rush like they're about to face. Their next 3 games are against Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, and Micah Parsons again. They have not faced a pass rusher like that. So this O-line will be tested. If you watch the Eagles game, the way that Chicago beat them, besides the Eagles just not showing up offensively, but they got ahead, and they just pounded him with the running game. They wore that defense down, ran for 281 yards. Turns out the Eagles have a really bad run defense. I had no idea until I looked at the stats. So that is what the Bears need to do. Because the weakness, besides left tackle, is Caleb Williams. He is their biggest weakness on offense. Let me give you a stat. We know his completion percentage is 58.9%, I believe, one of the worst in the NFL. But there's an advanced stat. It's called adjusted completion percentage. What that does is account for drops. So if there are drops by your wide receiver, you're not going to be hurt. So if you're bad at this category, it's because you're inaccurate. Basically, you're not making completions that you should. There are 42 quarterbacks that qualify. Caleb Williams is 40th. That is horrible. I remember watching week 1 against the Vikings. There were at least 4 or 5 passes where Caleb Williams completely missed wide open receivers. And he has not thrown a lot of interceptions. But his turnovers, like the fumble against the Steelers, have been really bad. Now, Jordan Love, let's talk about him. He's 5th in adjusted completion percentage, and he's 1st in EPA per play. That's expected points added per play. Jordan Love is number 1 in the NFL in that category. He's coming off a tremendous game against Detroit. So the biggest weakness for the Bears is Caleb Williams on offense and left tackle. And they're facing the best defense they've faced all year, by far. It's going to be a real challenging next 3 weeks for the Bears offense. Now, the Packers defense, as you know, it's one of the best in the NFL. 4th in yards allowed, 6th against the pass, 8th against the run. The run defense has been tremendous, except against Rico Dowdle. He tore him up. But other than that, their run defense has been outstanding. They're one of the best tackling teams in the NFL. So what the Bears need to do is what they did against Philadelphia. They've got to get ahead, and they've got to work the running game and wear Green Bay down. It's going to be much harder to do than it is against the Eagles because the Packers are playing so much better than the Eagles. Now, on the other side of the ball, the Bears defense, like I said, they're 7th worst in yards per game. They're probably a little better than that. They had some injuries. They got some guys back. But they don't get a lot of pass rush. The Bears have to find some way to get pressure on Love. It's going to be tough. They're going to have to send blitzes. The problem with blitzing the Packers is when the Lions tried to do it, people like Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson were beating man coverage, and they were getting open. And Jordan Love was throwing off his back foot and putting it on guys' hands. If you get that, Jordan Love, Green Bay could run away with this game. Plus, the Packers' offensive line has been run blocking much better of late. Aaron Banks, their left guard, is finally healthy. They put second-round pick Anthony Belton at right guard. That's definitely helped the running game, replacing Jordan Morgan, who's a terrible run blocker. Josh Jacobs, he's had that calf issue. Hopefully he's healthy for this game. He should be. He's had 10 days off. So Green Bay's offense is playing as well as it has all year. Could be a big challenge for that Bears defense. Now, one of the reasons the Bears are 9-3 is turnovers. They're plus 17. That is tremendous. So they've been forcing turnovers and not giving hardly any up. They've only had 9 turnovers all year in 12 games. In fact, second place, 3-way tie, Rams, Buccaneers, Texans, plus 9. So almost double any other team. By the way, the Vikings, minus 15, the worst. Oh my God, Vikings. What the heck? Back to the Bears. The problem with turnovers is it's not a consistent stat. You're going to have stretches of 3 games, you might force 1. And you'll have stretches like the Bears where they'll force a ton, 2 or 3 every game. And Green Bay has only given up 7 all year. So you cannot rely on forcing turnovers. Oh, we're plus 17. We'll just force turnovers and win the game that way. It's just not a sustainable stat. You cannot keep relying on that. And you're going to go up against much better quarterbacks as the season goes on. Not against Cleveland. But you're going against Jordan Love, who just doesn't throw many interceptions. So you cannot rely on that, Bears. That's one of the main reasons why they're 9-3 and not 6-6. Plus, Ben Johnson, the upgraded head coach, Matt Eberflus, and Matt Nagy were awful. Just don't hire someone named Matt. That's the key. People named Matt are bad at coaching the Bears. So The spread, let's check it out. 6.5. As much as I think the Bears have overachieved, I still am surprised it's that high. 6.5 is like a trap spread. I don't bet, but I do predictions by the spread. It's like Vegas wants you to take the Packers. Oh, because they just win by touchdown, they cover. So maybe Vegas picked that spread on purpose to get a lot of people betting the Packers, thinking the Bears will cover. The over-under is 44.5. I would probably take the over because I think the Packers can score on the Bears. And that's another factor. To win this game, you can't score 16, 19 points. You got to score points on the Packers. You got to double or triple team Michael Parsons. You absolutely have to, because he's coming for you, Caleb. And Caleb Williams also has to do this. One of his strengths is his ability to scramble. Leave the pocket at the right time and scramble for yards. You're going to have to do that. When you see Michael Parsons coming, you're going to have to run away from him and scramble and get first downs that way, because he's just not a good enough passer at this point in his career to beat you that way. He's not a guy that's going to throw over 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, and beat you that way. He's not that guy. He's not accurate enough. So he's going to have to get some first downs with his legs. And he's very good at that. So 6.5 Packers. Oof. I was going to pick the Packers to cover spread, but that's such a big number. 44.5. I'm going to take the over 44.5 because I think the Packers can easily put up 27-31, no problem. But I will take the Packers to cover the 6.5. Okay, real quick. We got Texans-Chiefs Sunday night. Looking forward to that. That might be an elimination game. If the Texans lose, they could be 2 games behind the Jaguars and the Colts, assuming they win. And I saw a stat with the Chiefs. They are 6-6. If they win 3 of their last 5 games, the chances of them making the playoffs are 5%. So basically, they're not going to make it. In the NFC, you pretty much have to win 11 games to make the playoffs. The Packers were the last seed last year at 11-6. And the NFC is stronger at the top. AFC, you might be able to win 10 games, but you can't go 9-8. So the Chiefs, who are not going to win the division, Denver's going to win the division, they pretty much have to win this game. And the Chiefs are missing both starting offensive tackles against the Texans defense, who I think overall have the best defense in the NFL right now. And they have 2 tremendous pass rushers. So it's a terrible matchup right now for the Chiefs. They are at home in cold weather. Texans are a dome team. But the Chiefs can maybe afford to lose one more game, and they play Denver on Christmas night. That's going to be really tough. So I think it's a must-win, probably for both teams. I think the loser is probably going to miss the postseason. And then the Eagles-Chargers, both teams are just not playing well at all. I don't know what's going on with the Eagles. Both 8-4. Eagles still probably make the postseason with the Cowboys losing last night, but they're playing so bad. And the Chargers have offensive line injuries. I'll say this. Chargers probably need it more than the Eagles, especially if the Chiefs win the night before. Because the Eagles, even if they lose, still probably going to win the NFC East. But the Chargers are probably not going to win the division, so they need to make us a wild card. So they really need this game. But losing those 2 offensive tackles for the year is devastating. Really hurt their offense. Okay, give me your prediction. Any of those 3 games. Do you think the Packers cover 6.5? Who do you think wins? I just want to say one more thing. In between the Packer-Bear games, because they play each other twice in 3 weeks, I hate that. We'll talk about that in another video. The Bears play the Browns at home, and the Packers are at Denver. Bears have a much easier game, obviously. I don't think that game, that matchup, for the Bears or the Packers will affect how well they play against their division rival. But it might affect how they play in those games. Packers-Bears, you're going to show up in that game. No doubt about it. Huge rivalry, division game, and it's so important with their records this year. But potential letdown the week in between. The Bears might be lucky they're playing such a bad team, the Browns at home. Packers have to go to Denver. If they have any kind of letdown, they will not win that game because Denver is one of the best teams in the NFL. But the Bears might be a little lucky here with the schedule in that their easiest game left is sandwiched in between their division rival, and it's Green Bay's hardest game left on their schedule. So just want to bring that up. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell for notification. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel. Share this with anyone who loves football so we can grow football with Cheez. Like I said, if you have not, check this out, and I'll see you in the next video.